Alright, now on this channel we talk a lot about like wired REMs and wired earbuds and if they're any good for gaming and whatnot, but we haven't really touched on like earbuds that are wireless specifically. Like true wireless earbuds even now exist that are designed specifically for gaming with special gaming modes with low latency, which I now have here in my hands for review. So this is the Gravastar Sirius Zinc Alloy Gaming Earbuds. Let's talk about it. Alright, now disclaimer, this was sent out to me for review by Gravastar, but this won't affect my review in any way, shape, or form. Everything you're gonna hear here is gonna be my own personal opinion. Also, this is gonna be more of a gaming review versus an audiophile review or a lifestyle review, which I probably still will touch on anyway, but the main focus will be on its performance in games. And so, with that being said, let's get started. Here we have the Gravastar Sirius, and as you can tell, it's packed in a very nice box, which is definitely reusable, which I'm probably gonna use as a display case, but anyway, if we open up the latch over here, we can crack open the box to get our earbuds and charging case, a short USB-A to USB-C charging cable, several sets of different size ear tips, a chain for carrying around your earbuds, which I'll show you guys later, and of course a manual. Now if you look at the product itself, you can tell the charging case is indeed made of metal, as well the name of the product implies. It feels really solid, has a pretty good weight to it, and gives this feeling of high quality to it. The only place on the charging case that isn't entirely made of metal is the very bottom, where you'll find our charging port, as well as a button to reset all Bluetooth connections in case things go awry. Now to open the case, there's a little button off to the side, which is also very solid and made of metal with Gravastar's emblem on it, and when we press it, we release our earbuds, which sits secured inside the case with magnets. And while the case is open, this is actually when you can attach like the lanyard chain cable thing to it in case you want to carry this thing around your neck. Sort of an interesting add-on accessory, which is purely optional, but appreciated nonetheless. Now as for the earbuds themselves, the design language is very much like the case, being very edgy and cool and techno, but the material itself is completely made of plastic to keep things very light and comfortable in the ear. The overall shape is quite reminiscent of Sennheiser's Momentum True Wireless earbuds. Anyway, on the inner side, I was quite pleased to find out that there are proximity sensors on the earbuds themselves for auto pausing when you like take the earbuds out your ear. Something interesting about the nozzles is that they're ovular in shape, which will most likely affect its fit in your ears, which in my experience so far has been pretty good. Here's how they look like on my head, by the way. They're neither too big nor too small, and they honestly look pretty nice, as they're like little accessories in the ear. The fit, as I've mentioned before, feels pretty good, and I honestly think you can wear them all day. Granted, the battery life may hold you back in that department. You may have already noticed, but these earbuds don't have any buttons, and that's because they have touch controls, which honestly work pretty well. Alright, let's get the lifestyle stuff out of the way. Can this be used as your daily driver? Yes, absolutely. I've used them for a week as my daily driver, and they did a pretty good job. All things considered, like, they have a low battery life. This is something I'm not very big on. Like, on paper, it only has like a 4-hour battery life per earbud here, and like with the case, you get another 16 hours of charge, which is like okay. And this is less than I would have preferred. I would have preferred to have seen like 5 to 6 hours per earbud, but in my own personal usage, this wasn't too much of a problem because most of us out there, if you're like me, you'll probably be using the earbuds at most like 2 hours at a time before putting them back in the case so they can charge. But for those of you who like use your earbuds for long periods of time, or just like to keep it in your ear all day without ever putting it back in the case, these are definitely not going to do it for you. Absolutely not. But for most people who are kind of like me, then I think you're going to be fine. Now when it comes to like daily carrying these guys, I thought it would be a lot worse than it actually was. It actually wasn't that bad. Size wise, they look kind of big, but they're actually only like a little bit bigger than AirPods Pros. I mean, look at these guys, like next to the AirPods Pros, they're only like marginally just a little bit bigger, though they are a bit more angular. The thing that makes them more difficult to carry than the AirPods Pros would probably have to be their weight, because they are significantly heavier, being completely made of like metal and whatnot, so they will weigh down in your pockets a little bit, and you definitely will feel the weight of them and possibly them swinging if your pockets are loose. Now when it comes to like the usage of them all day, I would say they're very comfortable and you can easily wear these all day long and whatnot. And when it comes to usage for like working out, you can have no problem with them. They haven't slipped out of my ears during workouts, surprisingly, despite not having any rubber or kind of like special like hold in fins in, to like help it stay in my ear, and it didn't come out. Though I think it has a lot to do with like the fit of the ear tips that you put on it to make sure that it stays in your ear. So, do make sure you have the right fit so that they don't slip out. And even then, while it never slipped out, I do feel like I would feel a little bit more secure if it had a little bit more rubber on the inside just to help grip into my ear. So, there is that. Oh, and by the way, if you are a really sweaty person when you work out, these are IPX5 rated when it comes to like water resistance. So like if you're like a really sweaty boy, or maybe you get caught in the rain, you're gonna be fine with these guys. Alright, now as far as the microphone is concerned, it is sort of a mixed bag because it does use ENC technology where it'll home in on your voice and attempt to like, cancel out background noise, but it does affect the quality of my voice, as you can kind of hear here. And this is in a more ideal environment where I'm in my room. It's pretty quiet. Alright, now here I am in the cafe, which is a less than ideal environment. So there's music talking in the background, and it's not too great at capturing my voice despite ENC. So there you go. The mic
not great.
Alright, now with lifestyle stuff aside, let's focus on the things our channel usually focuses on, which is audio quality and gaming. And this is a bit of a mixed bag because this thing has 3 different modes, starting with music mode, movie mode, and gaming mode. We're mostly going to focus on like music mode and gaming mode, but music mode we're going to start with because that's what is affected by the other 2 modes. Now music mode is the overarching sound mode for this guy, and the sound signature of this is exactly as you would probably expect of something that looks like this. It's got a very strong V-shaped sound signature. It's a very fun sound. It's very engaging sound. At the low end, we got a lot of bass, like a lot of bass. There's a lot of boominess, there's a lot of punchiness going on in here. The reach into sub bass is just okay, just enough to bring out a lot of that boom. Upper bass has a good, strong impact. Like the whole bass is very forward in terms of its presence, giving a lot of bass going on, and it's a very fun amount of it. I think a lot of bass heads would like it. People who like bass cannons will enjoy it very much. However, with a lot of bass, there is also bass bleed, which then, you know, bleeds into the mids. The mids are recessed, you lose detail, you lose clarity in that area, and it's not going to be as forward as the bass or the highs, which we're going to get into a little bit. Now the mids though, when we get into like the upper mids, like many other earbuds that go have like a, you know, they got a V-shaped sound signature, it starts getting a little bit of its detail and clarity back when we start getting to those upper mids as it transitions into the highs. The highs themselves being also forward, their presence is very much there. When it comes to clarity and details for the highs on these guys, I thought it was pretty okay. It wasn't like the most clear and detailed in the world, but it was a pretty good amount of it. As for the range, it was pretty okay. It rolled off a little bit early, most likely to prevent harshness and sibilance, which I can respect when it comes to like a set of earbuds for the general masses. Basically, they are giving you a very engaging experience while also making it a very comfortable experience. Now, as far as the soundstage and imaging is concerned, it's about average for both. The soundstage is small. It is a set of earbuds that is to be expected, and it's average in size and depth and whatnot. It's nothing to like write home about. Same thing for the imaging. It's accurate enough. It's not too bad. It's not like pinpoint accurate, but you can find things where they need to be, you know. But you know, this is in its normal mode. When you have like the movie mode and gaming mode, it changes things a little bit. Movie mode, I'm not going to touch on too much. It basically makes the soundstage feel a little bit bigger, a little bit more atmospheric, which is great for movies, and lowers the lag just a little bit for like movies, so you can have like a better image to sound experience. Now, when it comes to gaming, latency is even more important, so you're essentially going to get a much faster, lower latency experience with it. However, because this is done through Bluetooth and it is a wireless experience, Bluetooth has its limits in terms of how much data it can transfer and receive at the same time. So if we're going to get really low latency, especially without using any special codecs, just by itself, we're going to have to take it from somewhere else, and that in this case is sound quality. Like this thing only runs on 2 codecs, which is SBC and AAC. It doesn't have aptX or anything else, but the goal of its gaming mode seems to be that it wants to be able to give you low latency no matter what device you use, whether it uses AAC, whether it uses aptX, LDAC, or just, you know, standard SBC. It wants to give you good low latency if you're going to be playing games with it. However, to do that and without using any codecs, the sound quality isn't going to be as good, because usually when you use like a special codec for that kind of stuff, you can retain good high quality, such as through aptX, while also giving you low latency in terms of the experience. The problem with using specialized codecs, however, is you can easily run into compatibility issues, because if you want the earbuds to actually use the codec, the device you're connected to also has to run that same codec. Otherwise, they're just going to default to the regular SBC codec. So what these buds do to lower latency across devices, regardless of codec, is by trading off sound quality to open up some bandwidth so that it can be used for lowering the latency. As you can expect, this affects the sound as a whole. So in gaming mode, what happens to the sound overall is we lose detail and clarity across the board, and the sound itself changes quite drastically. The bass loses its punch a bit. It is definitely a lot more boomy in gaming mode, and it feels more muddy and bloated. The mids are still recessed. That hasn't changed all that much. We just lose a bit of detail. Same thing for the highs. Those also lose a bit of detail and clarity, and it feels more bassy overall for the sound due to how much bass it was in the beginning. Now in practice, this whole gaming mode trade-off wasn't so bad because my gaming experience wasn't all that bad overall, depending on what I was using it on. For example, if I was using it on a PC shooter game, which this isn't designed for, my experience was a bit rough, I'm gonna be honest, because playing those games you really gotta have the details and clarity in the mids and the highs to track people, and since I had a lot less of that, it became a little bit more difficult to do so, because due to what has happened to the sound signature, the accuracy of the sound went from just okay to being very generally accurate. So I only had a general idea of where enemies could be. I couldn't really pinpoint them to like make plans on where to escape or where to attack, but once again, that's like on PC. Though on PC I did notice when I was playing less competitive games, more worldly games, that my experience was actually pretty fun. It wasn't that bad. Like, it was just nice to play the game untethered so I can like move around easily without a wire from my head to like my system. essentially. But even then, knowing me, I'd still prefer the cable if I can get higher qualities. But, you know, this is situations this wasn't exactly designed for. This is designed mostly to be used with, like, probably your mobile phone or tablet for gaming and whatnot. In those cases, I would say it did a pretty good job. I had a pretty fun time, whether I was playing like a non-competitive game like Genshin Impact, just exploring the world and whatnot, or if I was playing a more competitive game such as like Call of Duty Mobile, and I'm hunting down for people and whatnot. And interestingly, I had an easier time finding people in terms of like, you know, using the imaging and soundstage of the earbuds when I was playing this game. It could have to do something with the design of the sound of mobile games being simpler or something else. I don't know, it's just easier to do in mobile games. So yeah, all things considered, I would definitely recommend these more for like mobile gaming users versus, you know, PC gaming usage. Granted, you know, that kind of makes sense because they're designed for mobile. But even then, with everything considered, from the build, design, battery life, gameplay, gaming mode, and music mode, is it worth it? Honestly, it would depend. If you're someone who like wears your earbuds all the time and never puts it back in the case and you need them for work versus gaming, probably not for you. If you're an audiophile, also not for you, because you guys probably think it has way too much bass. Now, if you're like a casual gamer who likes to game on like your mobile device and you're a really big bass head, then you'll probably like this a lot. And I think anyone honestly could appreciate the build quality. Now, as for me personally, I honestly really like this device, but I want it to be done better. Like, it does have improvements that can definitely be made. In the next version, if there is a next version, I want to see at least 5 hours of battery life, maybe 6 hours of battery life per earbud. And if you can make improvements to the sound quality when you go to gaming mode, that is heavily preferred over like build quality. Granted, I would still like to keep this build quality, but if that's what it takes to give me better sound quality and with good latency, that's just what's going to happen. But, you know, that being said, that's pretty much all I have for today. So, if this video did help you out, do leave me a like, subscribe for more content, hit the notification bell if you want to know I'm posting next. You know, because all that stuff helps me exist in this whole YouTube space and whatnot. So, you know, once again, you want to purchase this guy, link in description. So, what else is the link in the description? Twitch. I stream every now and then. So if you want to see what I'm streaming, see when I'm streaming, or if I'm streaming, and, you know, things I've done in streaming on Twitch, so link in description. Twitch. Sometimes I stream. That's it. That's it. I'm done. I'm also hungry and tired, so I should probably go eat something. So, see you guys next time.